We'll begin this Rules Subcommittee meeting, Thursday, May 6th. We will start with the roll call.
Member Barnett.
Present.
Member Metzger. Present. Member Martin.
Present.
Member Wendt.
Present.
Member Woolrab.
Here.
Member Erickson.
Here.
Member Soldner.
Here. It appears we have no minutes to approve, so we will go on to number 3, appearances by the members of the public. Julie, do we have anyone today?
Yes, sir. We have two. The first one was Miss Elizabeth Johnston. I believe she's here in person.
All right. Ms. Johnson, you may proceed.
Thank you. Here I am again today. Just want to start with saying, we are a political body, and we cannot expect a political body to engage and not to engage in partisan ways. But I do believe that we had been able to set up a bipartisan commission from the beginning, as had been requested a few months ago. We would have been spending more time on deliberation and less on speculation from the very beginning. As it is, the most transparent part of this process so far has been public opinion, which we have heard quite a bit of. Yet the public has very little knowledge of what the board is thinking, except for the comments of Member Woolrab and the non-committee members who have signed up to speak. But I know that's what the purpose of tonight's meeting is, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. I do still believe that 20 single-member districts would best serve the constituency, every constituency in McLean County. However, we cannot have this option for voters because we have begun the process so late. As we found out Monday night, proceeding with such a plan without a referendum is not legal due to the timeline, which is very different from being unconstitutional altogether. I also do want to register my disappointment for not receiving this information about the legal opinion prior to the board meeting on Monday. But it is clear from Ms. Ziegler's comments on Monday that the State's Attorney's Office did share the information about this opinion with the Farm Bureau prior to the Monday's meeting. And I know that I am not the only board member who did not get this information, or did not get this information until we got to the meeting itself. I believe the State's Attorney, the Assistant State's Attorney, does sit as legal representation for the county administration and supposedly for all county board members. I wish that the information had been shared equally across the board. As it stands, we are looking at multi-member districts, and I do support retaining the current 10-district, 20-member model. Once we've completed this reapportionment task, I hope that as a county that we will establish and clarify redistricting rules that will help future boards with the redistricting process. Future members may not agree with the rules that we set forth, but they would at least have a basis for beginning the process and could change it at their own convenience. I have always served in good faith, and I'm mindful that I answer to the voters of District 5. They entrusted me to speak on their behalf at meetings and protect their interests. As it is, we are all entrusted to speak up for our own districts. And echoing the comments from Member Klein and from Mr. Steve Cease on Monday, the surest way to protect rural voices, town voices, and city voices is to maintain districts that adhere to municipal lines and preserve them for all communities of interest. Otherwise, we do run the risk of disenfranchising voters of one community or another. So please give this careful consideration tonight as you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we have, it appears, Rachel Lund. Is that correct? Ms. Lund, if you can hear me, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all today regarding the redistricting process. I read in a recent WGLT article that this process has, quote, pitted Republicans against Democrats and rural residents against city dwellers, end quote. If you know anything about me, you probably know that I'm a proud Democrat, but reading that line made me sad. I was sad to think about the perceived divisions within our community. This process shouldn't pit any of us against each other because of our political affiliations or where we live. We are all residents of McLean County. If we put aside our differences just for a moment, I bet we find that we have more in common than we realize. For example, I bet we all want this process to be transparent and open to the public. I like to think that we can all agree on that. I will go further in that we all, regardless of party or zip code, want our communities to have a voice and be represented on the county board. Now, how we go about achieving those goals is probably where we tend to disagree. There are multiple reasons why I oppose reducing the number of districts to 5 and having 4 representatives from each district. One of the main reasons is that for the proposed larger districts that include both rural and urban communities, the potential exists for all 4 representatives to be elected entirely from the city or entirely from the country, leaving part of those districts completely unrepresented on the county board. So with the goal of ensuring that all areas of our very large and diverse county are able to have a voice and be represented on the county board, I am asking you, members of the Rules Subcommittee, to vote in favor of maintaining the current structure of 10 districts with 2 representatives in each district. I do not envy your position and the very important decision that falls upon your shoulders today. No matter what you decide, someone will be upset. My request is that you are able to look at the data objectively and make a decision that you believe is in the best interest of all residents of McLean County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are now ready to move on to departmental matters. I spoke with Ms. Vasquez before the meeting to see if it would be appropriate to combine for A1 and A and B, and she said unless there is an objection from any member, we could do that. Does anybody here on this committee have an objection with combining those two? All right, seeing none, Member Went?
I would like to make a motion.
Mike?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the changes in, and I want to include section 20-1, 20-2, 20-4, and 20-7. And in 20-1, it will be 20 members on the board. 20-2, we will strike the 2002 and put in 2022. And then we will put in the districts, 5 districts with 4 board members from each district elected in each district. Then in 20-4, we will, yes, still have 20 board members, but 10 of those, and it'll be 2 from each board district, will be selected to serve a 2-year term. And then we will have 10 members, 2 from each district, and they will serve 4-year terms. And then down here, again, we will strike the 2002 and put in 2022, December, when we will have the drawing for the districts. I might have missed November of 2002 needs to be replaced with 2022. And then in number 20-7, the county administrator and first civil assistant state's attorney will prepare and complete the legal description of the 5 county board districts at that time. That is my motion.
Well, unfortunately, you jumped the gun a little bit. I'd like to go ahead and read for the record the 2 items for action. The first one is for A1, items to be presented for action, approve a recommendation to Executive Committee regarding McLean County Board Rules 20-2, 20-4, and 20-7 regarding the number of board members and board districts. And the second one is approve recommendation to the executive committee regarding cleanup language in board rules 20-2 and 20-4. And so Member Went, you've made a motion. I would recommend, or I would ask for a second. Second by Member Metzger. Okay, open for discussion now. Member Metzger?
I want to, first of all, thank all of the individuals who spoke and provided feedback to this body over the past couple of weeks. And certainly many points were well thought out and certainly considered from my point of view. I am supporting this direction primarily because I believe that having a larger district that will bring both rural and urban, an rural and urban district together will actually provide better representation because as a individual who currently serves primarily a rural district, I don't have a great understanding of the details of the urban districts. And if my district was larger, I would be required to support both of those. And I think that by having 4 members, I think we could certainly see a mix, and I would hope that that would happen, that we would have a mix. I can tell you that today in the Land Use Committee meeting, I saw a good example of why we need to mix those together. And so when we had another situation when every rural representative voted against a zoning situation, and most of the urban ones voted for it. So that would tell me that those individuals do not really understand what our rural citizens want, just as I may not, as a individual who represents a rural district, have as good of understanding as I could have if I had more urban people in the district. So I believe that we can certainly have a solid 20 board members and still expand our understanding as a community and not be divided.
All right. Member Barnett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion to amend Member Wynn's motion. My amendment would change everything that he read through to keep it at 10 districts and 2 members per district. And I would make that motion to amend Member Wynn's motion. Thank you.
All right. We need a second for that. Second by Member Wolrab. Okay. So discussion on the amendment. Member Wolrab.
I'll start. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've heard a lot of comments on both sides of this question in our 3-night meeting recently, and there were points on both sides that were both interesting and informative, and I think some of them had some merit. I'm in favor of staying at where we're at now, the 10 districts, the 20 members. I think that's a structure that has worked very well for this board over the years. It's been a long time that it's been in place. And that doesn't mean that the membership is going to stay the same, but it does mean that the structure is one that seems to have proven over time. There were concerns about the representation of the rural districts that was voiced over those meetings. And what I would say is that currently if we go with the existing census, not the unknown census of 2020, we have approximately 28% of the rural area is population-wise is rural, and we currently have 33% representation on the board for the rural districts with the membership that we have, and that structure does guarantee, essentially, as much as possible, that the rural districts will have rural representation and not be mixed in with urban representation. I think to assume that a rural person could learn it's possible to learn and understand what might be going on in other areas of the county, but frankly, we have lived experiences of where we are now, and we're very familiar with them, with the businesses, with our residents, with the problems and the amenities that we have, the positive things that we have going on in our districts. And I think to widen that to such a large extent that we're traveling over a fifth of the county geographically, I think would make it very difficult to learn and understand what would be going on in one's district. So that's among the reasons. And also, I think, leads to better representation overall for our population. We're a little bit closer. It's not the 20 districts that had been discussed, but that we aren't able to do, but it's a little bit closer to better representation for our residents of the county. Thank you.
All right. Other comments? Just a minute, Member Barnett. I want to see if anybody else had first round. Anyone else? All right, go ahead, Member Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe our current setup of 10 districts with 2 members per district has worked well for this county for the past 40 years. That is a long time that we have had in place our current structure. And changing to 5 districts with 4 members per district is a radical change. It's not a small change, it is a big change. And I have yet to hear any kind of detailed examples why what we have right now does not work. Yes, occasionally there are some issues that come up that maybe some folks wish would go a different way. But for the most part, 99.9% of the time, I think that everyone on this board, whether they live in Bloomington or in Normal or out by Bellflower, wherever they may be, do an excellent job of representing all of the constituents of this county. I may live in Bloomington and live on the east side of town, but I grew up in a small town. I had family who farmed. I had friends who farmed. I would go out and help them. I understand small town values. I understand what it means to live in that culture and to live in those areas. Anytime a vote has come up that a township needed assistance having a culvert replaced, that more funding was needed for show bus, any sort of initiative that has come up to support the rural areas, I have voted for it every single time. And now we're talking about switching from 10 districts and 2 members per district to 5 districts with 4 members per district with zero guarantee that the diversity of the board and its membership and where it lives will continue to be what it is right now. Let me tell you something. It is completely possible that we would move to 5 districts and a vast majority, 18, 19, 20 members even of the county board could be from Bloomington Normal and leave the rural districts with absolute 0 representation. 75% of the county's population is within Bloomington Normal. It's completely possible. Right now, the outlying areas of the county and the rural communities are guaranteed without question 6 seats on the county board. To assume that those seats would increase is foolish and an unknown. Right now, there are 6 guaranteed seats in the rural area. That's worked well. They've had great representation. It's been divided equally at Bloomington and Normal. It's worked well for the past 40 years. I support keeping it at 10 districts and 2 people per district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anyone else? I'd like to make a comment if I may. I too sat through the 3 special meetings, gotten dozens of emails, both sides of the argument. I think there's compelling reasons on both sides, but again, I like the idea. I'm supporting 5 districts. And the reason for that is that I like the idea of giving voters an opportunity to pick 4 members. I do think, the guarantee or the non-guarantee that the 4 members may come from the city is valid. That's a true statement. Although again, it's possible it might be the other way. I also like Farm Bureau's rationale. Again, it's a case where I think it's better representation if we do go to 5 districts. And again, Member Metzger, I think they hit the nail on the head. It might be right. Maybe we haven't had a lot of issues that have divided rural and city, but we have had some. And there's no guarantee there won't be more in the future. So that's kind of my opinion and where I'm at. So, Member Martin?
I just want to make sure that people understand why I'm going to vote, how I'm going to vote. I've heard nothing other than 20 members. Everybody that has sent emails and talked, they agree we should have 20 members. I have talked to a lot of people in District 3, and they are all urging me to vote for 5 districts. And so I'm going to be voting for that because that's what I'm being urged to do.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. If not, then we're ready to vote on the amendment. And the amendment, I guess, in general, just says remain where we're at with 10 districts. Roll call vote.
Yes, sir, that was the amendment as I heard it, was to keep 10 districts with 2 members in each. Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
No.
Member Went,
No.
Member Martin,
No.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
No.
Chairman Soldner.
No. Amendment
does not
fails. So now we will have further discussion on the original amendment for 5 districts. Member Barnett.
I'd like to call the question, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any objection to calling the question? All right. Seeing none, then we will vote on the original amendment. Again, in general, it's stating that we will have 20 members in 5 districts. Roll call vote.
Member Barnett,
No.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Woolrab,
No.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Soldner.
Yes. Motion carries. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning, both of these A and B are together in one motion. So what we'll do is, the second part is more or less fill in the blank. We'll make sure that that's done. I don't believe, Ms. Rodriguez, do we have any other business for tonight?
No, sir.
All right. Okay, with that, I would, oh, I'm sorry, Member Barnett?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I know this member Friedrich is on this call, and he's not a standing member of the committee. I didn't know he was planning to address the committee.
No, he just asked, he's in the field, and he just asked to be able to, listen in. I've honored that request before. So.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Chairman, if I may?
Yes, Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to make sure, especially if council can assure me that we have covered everything on the agenda before we part, because there was a document wherein we needed to fill in blanks. Mr. Spanos or Ms. Vasquez, can you assist in ensuring that the committee has completed all of their assigned duties this evening?
They have. The original motion went through the document, identified each of the blanks, and then from there, they can be now filled in.
Thank you. I just wanted to be extra sure. Thank you, Chairman Soldner, for that grace.
All right. With that, this committee stands adjourned. I know we have further meetings coming up in the future, so we'll look forward to seeing everyone then. Thank you much for your participation.